Hey guys, welcome. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's Dan Young.
I'm Ronan.
And this is Developer TV. We've got some excitement in store for you today, guys. We've got Mr. Adam Moore, product owner of the Accounting API. He'll be talking a little bit about purchase orders a bit later. Then we have the San Fran office, who are going to talk about what's new in the add-on ecosystem. And lastly, we will have Mr. Regan Ashworth, who's our Auckland-based developer evangelist and karaoke king, and he will be talking with Vend. Of course, we'll have the API mastermind himself, Ronan Quirk, to answer some questions at the end.
Bring it on.
Awesome. So, talking about questions, Ronan, how's the wedding plans coming?
Wedding. Oh, yes, yeah. You're right, Dan. I am actually getting married at the end of this month. But I tell you what, the big focus for me this year has been all about the new Star Trek movie coming on December 17th. So that's really looking forward to that.
New Star Trek. Wait, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Shut up, Dan. Okay, so next I think we're going to be talking about the release desk and what's been going on in that world. So Adam has got a little bit of an intro for that.
Now, Adam, thanks for joining us, firstly. Last month you were talking a little bit about tracked inventory. That was the hot topic. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys have been doing the last sort of month? Any updates on that?
Oh yeah, since we last spoke, just a couple of small updates on that. A few little bug fixes and validations as always, but the main thing is delete items. So you can now delete both tracked and untracked items via the API, which is really cool.
Awesome. And Xero's brought out a feature called Billable Expenses. I know we've all heard about this one. The latest iteration is Billable Expenses for spend money transactions. Are we going to support that in the API?
Yeah, glad you asked, Dan. That's already live in the API as well, so we're able to support the invoices from day one, and now we've got billable expenses via spend money bank transactions, which is really cool. There's a few little changes we had to make for that, so just check out the Developer Center for all the details.
Nice one. And anything else new in the Accounting API?
Speaking of deletes, we can now extend our delete payment functionality. So we did invoices a while ago, but now you can delete payments for credit notes, prepayments, and overpayments as well, which is cool.
Awesome. Cool. Now, I know everyone's real keen to get to the purchase orders demo. It's what everyone's watching for, no doubt. But before we get on to that, Adam, anything new in sort of the other APIs around Xero?
Yeah, a couple of other good updates. So in the Payroll API, both US and Australia, we've added leave balances to the employees endpoint. So a lot of sort of HR management add-ons, been asking for that for a while. So you can now retrieve those leave balances, which is really cool. And also, speaking of the Files API, we've done a little update there to increase the maximum file size. It used to be 3 megabytes and it's now 10. So obviously a lot of your modern phones and that taking photos more than 3 megabytes now. So if you wanted to take a picture of your coffee receipts, it was probably too big to upload to Xero. So it was a bit of a blocker for a lot of add-ons. So hopefully we'll get some people coming back and taking another look at that.
That's awesome. I don't know about you. I feel like I'm kind of like sucking in a lot. I don't know, for you at home, I just needed to lose a few pounds. Anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later, won't we?
Look forward to it.
So now's the time. Floor is yours to talk a little bit about purchase orders. So here's the demo.
Yeah, cool. Full purchase orders functionality is rolling out at the moment, depending on when you're watching the video. So maybe just check the release notes. But full get, puts, posts. Shouldn't be too many surprises for people if they've used the invoices endpoint before. So very similar sort of structure. You need a contact, your date, your line items. All the features of a line item on an invoice are supported via the purchase orders as well. So your discounts, tracking categories, inventory items. Stop me if I'm boring you. But so it should be really cool. Same sort of statuses. You got your draft approved, or draft submitted and authorised, There's also a new status for build, which means you've copied that purchase order over to an invoice. And then there's a few new purchase order specific elements, like you can add a delivery address on there and attention to a phone number, expected arrival date, little things like that are specific for purchase orders. So check out the docs on the Developer Center for that.
Nice. Well, that was riveting stuff. So what I'm keen to understand though is, and perhaps small businesses more importantly, is what are some use cases that people might use this endpoint for?
So I guess the main one we see is sort of those add-ons, vertical add-ons for tradesmen, mechanics, construction people, those sort of areas where they're out working on jobs and they need to order more parts or stock items or for their van or whatever, so they need those orders flowing back to the back office, which is Xero. So that's going to make a really cool workflow there. Your reporting, dashboard, cash flow forecasting sort of apps. Really cool to be able to pull out all the purchase orders for a business and be able to show them how much money they're committed to spending coming up. And then there's your more inventory, stock management sort of verticals that just really want to sync orders between the both systems so that they're there in both places.
Sounds good. Hey, it's been awesome having you on the show today, Adam. Thank you for that. But I think what everyone at home is keen to understand is, how do you get in such good shape?
Well, that's a very personal question, Dan, and I'm not sure I'm ready to expose that publicly yet, but maybe we can discuss that offline.
Nice one, Adam. Check you out on Strava. So thanks a lot for that, and back to you guys in the studio. Bones.
Nice work, Dan. You really grilled Adam hard there. Some good content. It got a little bit awkward at times, I felt, but...
Yeah, but it's hard though with Adam because he's such a athletic guy, and I feel like I just feel inadequate when I'm...
Okay, I just thought maybe you over-focused on that myself personally, but that's all good. One of the use cases that Adam missed out on in the whole increase in the upload attachment size for the Files API is the main use case that I was actually looking for was receipt selfies. So you can scan a receipt, that's cool. But wouldn't it be great if when you're creating an attachment to your receipt that you actually do a selfie of you and that big booze bill and upload that so your boss gets to approve that instead? So that's the main reason for the Files API.
We should be talking to Snapchat about that.
I think so. So the next section we have is bringing on business.
Yeah, I know. I'm not too sure about it. It was kind of the best thing I could come up with at the time, but
okay, but it's a roundup of everything that's happening in the ecosystem. Yeah. Who's new, who's hot, all that kind of stuff. Awesome. So it's December, but obviously in New Zealand where we are, it's coming into summertime, so it's not very festive. So we thought we'd maybe switch over to an office where it's a bit more festive, a bit more Christmassy. They got that whole thing going on. So it's over to our office in Northern California, San Francisco. Yeah. Okay, the Norwegian guys weren't available. Okay, all right. Here's Sid and Vince.
Oh! Yeah, that's on tape. Thanks, Ronan. Hi, everyone. I'm Sid, a senior evangelist here at Xero, and I'm joined by my good friend, Vince.
Yes, thank you, Sid. And I am also on the developer evangelism team at Xero, and we're going to talk to you today about some of our newer add-ons that we added this month.
That's right. And I guess I would say our biggest announcement last month would be our launch with our partnership with BigCommerce. Very well-known e-commerce product, helps small businesses easily set up an online store, online presence. And it's terrific now because they've actually sponsored building an integration to help move your sales data from BigCommerce into Xero, removing that need for double data entry, which is so key. And while we have a history with BigCommerce, we have third-party partners that have built integrations between BigCommerce and Xero. Having an actual sponsored integration by BigCommerce really, I think, adds a set of, validity to the partnership, sort of levels it up, makes the customer feel more confident, makes BigCommerce more engaged in Xero, and I think there's going to be a lot of good things coming out of this relationship. One of the things that they did really well that I think our developers could learn from is during the setup process, when the customer's configuring their settings, they do a test synchronization to actually make sure everything is working well, and if not, alerting the customer, and so they can fix it right there at that moment instead of waiting till a day or two later to find out something wasn't set up right. Yeah. So I think it's really terrific. Super excited to see what comes out of the partnership.
Cool.
And what are some of the other add-ons you've been looking at?
Yeah, so I think one that I looked at that was pretty interesting to me was Visible. And Visible is a reporting service, and they do a lot of visualization with financial data. So you have your basic numerical representation of the data. You have your line graphs, your bar graphs, spline graphs, whatever you want, really.
What's a spline graph?
I don't know. That's what they had on their website. I just threw it out there.
Perfect.
But,
I want one.
yeah, I mean, we should all get spline graphs for Christmas, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, so I think what's interesting about Visible is that they target a sort of a niche space that some of our add-ons don't really look at, and we don't really have that much in that area right now, and that's that investor relationship. Pretty big, especially in San Francisco with the startup culture that exists here.
Yep.
So I'm a small business owner, I have founders, I have other stakeholders, employees that I would maybe want to share how my business is doing. So I think Visible does a really great job of just creating really beautiful reports and dashboards for these people to look at. And yeah, so I mean, the data just comes from our reports endpoint in our API, so definitely check them out if you have any kind of reporting needs or anything like that. So
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah.
One of the other partners that launched this last month, I think you actually worked to certify them, is Tripio.
Yep.
And you think Tripio, you think trip, I'm going to the airport, right? I'm buying a cup of coffee while I'm there, and wouldn't it be nice if I could capture that expense at that moment? And so what they've done is they've got a really nice mobile app that goes with their dashboard, and you can pull it out, snap a picture of that receipt right there at that moment.
Right.
Feeds it into your expense management workflow. Maybe you've got a manager that needs to approve it. That's all taken care of for you. And what I think they've done, which is cool, is after launching, they just have continued to evolve the product as well as the integration. And we launched this new endpoint for our API called Linked Transactions, which supports the ability to create billable expenses. And they jumped on that. And it's only been 2 months, and they've already added that functionality into their integration. So
cool.
Really, really great to see developers continue to evolve their products and integrations over time.
Yeah, that really warms my heart when we see our add-ons going ahead and just taking the initiative on
If not this fire, the
if not the
add-ons
fire.
will,
No, I think the fire's doing a great job right now. But
the add-ons are warming your heart as well.
Yeah.
So the other add-ons that we can't really dive into too deeply for today would be that launched our Fuse board, and Web Expenses and BizFi all launched in the last month. So with that, I guess we should just wish everyone a very Merry Christmas from Xero.
Merry Christmas. Back to you, Dan.
Hey, thanks a lot, Vince. Thanks, Sid. It's always awesome to hear about what's happening in the add-on ecosystem. We've got over 450 certified apps now, so that's great.
Yeah, and we just love all the different uses that they find for the APIs and the imagination that they have and the types of things that they build. It's great. Speaking of awesome, though, I just want to find out about spline graphs. I think that's going to be the next big thing. So,
Absolutely. I would have thought, in the Q&A, maybe we can ask you that.
Yeah, sure, you can try.
Awesome. Cool. So up next we have Mr. Regan Ashworth, who is our Auckland-based developer evangelist. And I mentioned also that he's a bit of a karaoke, well, he likes to think he's a karaoke king, but we'll find out. So we're sending him out, walk the streets to talk to add-on partners. This time around, we send him to Vend.
Nice.
Hey everyone, Regan Ashworth here. I'm Developer Evangelist at Xero, here for Developer TV today at Vend's headquarters in Auckland, New Zealand. I've got Pablo Sanchez with me. Pablo, first of all, congratulations on having the most awesome name in software development. How does that make you feel?
Well, to be honest, in Argentina it's probably the most common name ever, so I don't feel very special by that, but I will take it anyway.
Cool, awesome. So can you give us an idea for the people that don't know what Vend is and what you guys do as a company?
Yeah, sure. Vend is a cloud-based software for retail, and actually I would say Vend is the best way that a retailer can run the whole business. For example, they can sell in-store, they can sell online, they can manage their inventory, and actually they can work with the world's best add-ons like Xero.
So what's your role here at Vend, Pablo?
My role here at Vend is I'm a full-stack engineer. I work with PHP and JavaScript, and I'm part of the retailer experience optimization team. Our task is to make sure we provide with the best experience to our retailers, ensuring the user interface is intuitive, easy to use, and beautiful.
Cool, awesome. And I understand you're from Argentina originally, is that right?
Yeah, I'm from Argentina originally, so probably you can tell by my accent.
Cool. I just wanted to take a moment at this point to sing you a song that I hope would evoke some emotion for you. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. Does that evoke any emotion in you? How does that make you feel?
Well, I think like every time I say I'm from Argentina, people either have to say something about football or sing that song.
So getting back to the developer sort of stuff, what languages and tools are you guys using at Ven?
We use a wide range of tools. For example, for the backend, our main app is built with PHP within the Symfony framework. But lately we have started to break it down into microservices. We are using Go, JavaScript, and Docker. For infrastructure, we have recently migrated to AWS. That's going to improve the performances on our servers. For storage, we use Redis, MySQL, Elasticsearch, Amazon S3. For the front end, we have been using a lot of jQuery, but lately we have started to rewrite develop new features using Angular to provide a more dynamic experience to our retailers.
How do you organize your product teams at Ven?
Our product teams, we have organized them in a way we like to have always the focus on our retailers. Like previously, we used to have our teams divided by product areas, for example, point of sale, inventory, e-commerce. But lately, we have restructured our teams, so we have a direct impact on our retailers. For example, we have the sell more team that helps the retailer sell more stuff, the spend less team that helps the retailer spend less time using Ven, and my team that is a retailer experience optimization team that makes sure that the UI is easy to use and is intuitive.
Awesome. So you've been doing a lot of work with the Xero API. How do you find working with it?
Well, to be honest, when I was first told that I have to work with the Xero API, I was a bit scared because you always found like working with accountancy software a bit scary because it's very complex. But actually, when I ended up working with API, I found that it was very easy to use. It was very straightforward. It's well documented. I remember I only once ran into trouble, but I could find a solution in the Xero Developer community. So yeah, it's great to have resources like that.
So if we could deliver you one feature in the API that would make a huge difference to your life, what would it be?
Webhooks. If anyone is listening, that would be awesome for the two-way customer sync.
Yeah, you heard it here first, guys. Webhooks. Everyone wants them. Dan, Ronan, get your asses off the couch and start making webhooks happen. Cool, so thanks heaps for all your time. It's been really awesome to be here. Such cool offices. Really awesome. So in order to apologize for poking a phallic object in your face for 5 minutes, we've got a t-shirt here for you. So it's exactly like mine, so you can try and imitate me, but with more hair and a better accent. But yeah, thanks heaps, and back to you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Regan. That was really cool. I'm really stoked that we're able to get to the Vend office and take a look at what they're doing and some of their development practices and things. Pablo Sanchez, best name in software development. So yeah, wicked. Speaking of add-on partners though, we will be potentially looking to get some more kind of interviews and chats with them, particularly at conferences and things like that. We've got one coming up in February, XeroCon UK. What can we expect from that one, Ronan?
Yeah, so XeroCons are a great mix of not just accountants and bookkeepers, but Xero staff there as well, and also other add-on partners and developers, so you can share your war stories and kind of get insights into how they're cracking the ecosystem as well. So lots of value there. So whether it's XeroCon UK in February or another XeroCon that will be happening in Australia, US, New Zealand throughout 2016, lots of opportunities there. So definitely get along to one. You might think an accounting conference is boring, but it's more of a technology accounting conference, so it's actually good fun.
Wicked, cool, can't wait. Okay, so last segment of the episode is the Q&A. Now, lots of people tune in for this. They send in their questions during the month, and those of which we answer, we will give a t-shirt out to those people. So it gives you a little bit of incentive to send us some questions during the month. Hopefully you will do that. You can do that on community and also our Twitter handle, Xero API. Cool, but now, some say he sleeps with a bottle of Jameson's under his pillow. Others say he invented APIs. I just know him as our esteemed leader, Mr. Ronan Quirk.
There better be a question on spline graphs.
Oh, you wait, you should see. Okay, cool. So question 1, could you speak about RESTful JSON-based APIs and your thoughts on moving to that platform?
Oh, I could speak all day on it, but I suppose that what the question is getting at is our API is defaulting to XML and you can only do requests in XML. So if you wanted to have a look at where we're going in terms of API direction, the Files API is a really good example of that. That was built this year. The Accounting API, which most people use, is built 7 years ago, so it has really old behaviors. It's got some things we would love to go back in time and change, but unfortunately we can't. But it's definitely an impetus for us to do a V3 of the current V2 Accounting API, so we can actually put in those behaviors. But unfortunately, it's very difficult for us to do that with the current API set.
Okay, awesome. So next question, Ronan, is our company is very keen to integrate our inventory system with Xero, but I'm not a developer. Can Xero help me?
No, we can't. But there are lots of people who can, and that's where the ecosystem comes in. So you've got add-on partners who specialize in inventory management software. That's always a good start. Ideally, you want to get something out of the box if you can. If you need something quite specific, or if you've got an application and you need to customize how that integration works into Xero, then we've got these custom integration partners who are certified Xero developers. We've run the rule over them, made sure that they know what they're doing, they understand Xero. And you can find them in the add-on marketplace under custom integration. So those are the 2 things I would start with if you're trying to do some quite custom. But ideally, you would find out of the box software one of our add-on partners that can help.
Fantastic. Okay. So this question we'd probably like to get Nick Green in here, who's the technical lead for the API team.
Yeah, everybody needs a scapegoat.
Absolutely. So we'll throw him on the bus here. When are you doing webhooks?
Yeah, so webhooks we've been asked for a long time, and we're definitely listening, and we'd love to provide it if we could. Unfortunately, the actual underlying architecture of the Xero APIs as they stand today, kind of like JSON, just don't really support webhooks. But we're looking for lots of opportunities as we build new APIs and discrete pieces of functionality. Can we plug in eventing and webhooks to them? So what we're doing is we're going to be building the groundwork over the next 6 months or so that will allow us to do webhooks. Some of the first things that will have webhooks will probably be some of the ancillary services, like maybe fixed assets and some of the new APIs that will be coming along in 2016. And then we're always working towards having it on the important ones that most developers are using, like contacts and invoices. But that'll be, unfortunately, a longer term journey, but absolutely something we want to do.
Awesome. Alrighty. So this is a goodie. You're big, I'm small. How do I leverage this to my advantage? What are the stages of maturity of an integration, and how do I get to a gold standard?
So just to clarify, Dan, is this question coming from you? Okay.
Fair.
Yeah, so whether you are a little guy or a big guy, there's an opportunity in the ecosystem for everything. I think the main thing is that find your niche, find a way to validate quickly your app and your integration. There's lots and lots of customers out there in the Xero ecosystem. What you want to do quickly is understand who's your niche, who's your market, validate it, not validate it just with the end users, but ideally if you can find Xero accountants and bookkeepers who can actually help validate the proposition as well within the ecosystem. That's great. The most important people that you can talk to are the developer evangelists. So as soon as you sign up for the partner program, you'll get plugged into one of those folks, and they'll give you a really good steer on what's the MVP integration and what's the good, better, best approach to actually building out the ultimate solution for the space.
Wicked. So those guys, these developer evangelists who you're speaking of, they certify these apps, do they?
Yeah, you might think that they just sit around with bells on their heads or interview Pablo Sanchez and people like that, but they actually do some work during the day as well. So they're really specializing in understanding the Xero product and how does that translate to third-party apps and services that you might be building and integrating to Xero.
Wicked. Okay, cool. So final question. Now this one's to do with OAuth 2.0. So I know we're using OAuth 1.0A. Firstly, what's the difference, and are we going to be moving to OAuth 2.0 at any stage?
Dan, OAuth 1.0A it's kind of like a fine wine. It's been sitting there on the shelf for 8 years or so now, and we think it's just coming into a really nice level of maturity now. But in all seriousness, OAuth 2 and OAuth 1.0A, while you might think that one is better than the other, they're actually just different versions. It's not like Windows 95 and Windows 10. there's a lot of good stuff in OS 2.0a, OS 2, sorry, but a lot of the good stuff is from a developer's point of view, and it doesn't have the same level of security and same security implementations as OS 1.0a. And when we look at the API and the sort of things that we're doing at Xero, we've got everything that's important to a business. We've got their payroll data, their customers, their invoices, their banking information. So we've applied a quite stringent security model, which is supported by OS 1.0a, but not by OS 2. And so well, we're still looking at OS 2, and is there a way we could actually implement the same security features? It doesn't look like it's a good fit for us right now, but we're still listening, and we respect the fact that there is a little bit more of a step learning curve for OS 1.0a versus OS 2.
Wicked. I don't understand a word you just said, but hopefully you guys do, because that's the most important thing.
The entire answer was based on the hope that nobody understood. I needed that after those questions.
Yeah, that was some content. All right, cool. I don't know how you remember all that stuff.
I don't know either. I just had a mental blackout.
Nice. Okay, cool. So as I mentioned earlier, guys, we are really keen to get your questions every month. We love them, and we love answering them for you. And if you do send us a question that we answer during an episode, you'll get one of these cool T-shirts, which we're both wearing. Now this one is going to go to Chris Gulliver. He sent us the question about JSON and RESTful APIs.
Yeah,
this
thanks,
goes out
Chris.
to you, Chris. Cool, guys. So that's about all we've got time for today. Thanks a lot for joining us. Really appreciate it. We love making this episode. So if you really love the episode, then please like it, join, subscribe, retweet.
You can find it on my MySpace page.
Fantastic. You can find it on Ronan's MySpace page. Wicked. I'll have a look at that later, if it even exists. And yeah, share the hell out of it. Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers.